Talk about the Arba'a Shomrim. 4 Shomrim. Before we do that, we should talk about what does the word Shomer mean. We use the word Shomer a lot. We talk about Shomer Shabbat. We talk about Shomer Negia. We talk about Shomrim. What do they mean? Shomer Shabbat refers to keeping Shabbos, right? Not doing malacha on Shabbat. Shomer Negia means that boys and girls don't touch each other unless they're married or related, right? And Shomrim are groups that certain communities have that protect the whole community. So what do you think this word, Shomer, has in common with all of this? What do you think the word Shomer means in English? The word Shomer means to guard. Right? You're Shomer Shabbat, you're guarding Shabbat from having malacha done. It's appropriate to have malacha done on Shabbat. You're guarding it from happening. Shomer Negia is you're guarding your touch from becoming inappropriate. Shomrim are people literally guarding the community, making sure that nothing happens in the community. Shomrim relate to nezek. As we go through this, you're going to see some important terms. Those terms should be written down. You can either write them down as we go along, or you can wait until a few breaks, or there's a notes page. That's your choice, but they will be necessary for you to write down. You're going to use them later on. So, a shomer in general, when it comes to nezek, is somebody who's guarding another person's property. Now that person could be like a landskeeper. They're just guarding the whole property while someone's away. It could be a shomer, like a guard. Like the school has a security guard. Schools have security guards. Their job is to protect the building, the institution. It could be someone like a shepherd who is paid to watch somebody else's flock. Anytime you're watching somebody else's property, whether it's a favor for somebody else, or house sitting, babysitting, you're watching something else, you are a shomer. You're watching someone else's property. We're going to see that depending on the combination of circumstances and factors, sometimes the shomer, if something happens to what they're guarding, will be chayav to pay for it. They're responsible for it. Sometimes they'll be patur. It depends on a number of factors. What do you think some of those factors could be? We're going to see that the more benefit the shomer receives, the greater their responsibility is, and if the item is damaged, if there is nezek, they're going to be chayav. So, for example, when you're babysitting, you're getting paid. You're getting a lot of benefit from that. If you're helping someone carry their groceries, you're not getting any benefit. You're just doing them a chesed. You're doing them a favor. So depending on the circumstances, you will either be responsible if nezek happens to the item, or you'll be patur if nezek happens from the item. We must see some of those categories. The first category, which will be listed in the Mishnah, is a shomer chinam. This is someone who's just doing a favor. They're doing a chesed for somebody else. They say, can you watch my bike while I go into the store? Can you watch my horse while I go into the restaurant? Can you watch this for a second? Whatever it is, it's for free. It's chinam means free. It's no benefit or little benefit to the shomer. In that case, they're going to have the least level of responsibility because they're getting the least amount of benefit. They're not getting paid. They don't get to use the item. They're really just doing a chesed, a really nice thing, the chinam, for free. They're not going to have so much responsibility. Is a shomer sachar, or noseh sachar. These are used interchangeably in the Mishnah. They mean the same thing. They're both someone who's getting paid for shmirah. Someone who's getting paid to guard another person's property. Because this person is getting paid, they get a lot of benefit. They're literally getting paid. It's their job. Therefore, they have a very high level of responsibility. If something happens on their watch while they're doing the shmirah, they're going to likely be chayav because they're getting so much benefit for it. They have a very high level of responsibility. The next level is almost like the opposite of that case. The socher. A socher, confusing because it's socher versus schar, but a socher is someone who is renting property. They're paying somebody else to use that person's property. For example, if you're renting a bike to use, you're paying the company to use that bike. If you're renting a car, renting a house, renting a hotel room, you don't own that house, you don't own that hotel room, you don't own that. You're paying to use somebody else's property. You're renting a cat. It's not your cat. You're paying to use the other person's cat. Anytime you rent or pay to use another person's property, you are a socher. Again, they're going to have a high level of responsibility because you're getting a lot of benefit from it. If you're paying for it, it means you really want that. You really want to have a cat. You really want to have a bike. You have a high level of responsibility because you are benefiting a lot from that rental agreement. And for that type of shomer, will have, again, a high level of achrayut. Achrayut is responsibility if something does happen to the item. The next level of shomer is a shoel. A shoel is someone who's borrowing something. They're getting to use somebody else's property for free. Right? The Baal, the original Baal, the owner of the item, doesn't get any benefit. The shoel gets a lot of benefit. They get to use it as if it's theirs for nothing. They don't have to pay for it. They don't have to work for it. They just get to use it. In that case, they're going to have the highest level of responsibility because they're getting the most benefit. They have full usage of it, but don't have to give anything. So therefore, some nezek does happen to the item while they are a shoel, while they're borrowing it, they will likely be chayav for that nezek. But we'll see how there's some exceptions. Take these notes down. Right? The shomer, or shomrim, in plural, is someone who's guarding property. And the more benefit the shomer gets, the greater their responsibility. Shomer chinam is someone who's guarding for free. They don't get any benefit for it. Shomer sacha or nose sacha is someone who guards for payment. Socher is someone who guards for, or rents something rather. And a shoel is someone who borrows something. Now, again, some key terms here and some new terms. Chayav means that in the combination of factors, what kind of shomer it is, and we're going to see what kind of nezek it is, they're going to have to pay for the item. They're a chayav. They're obligated to pay. Again, chayav means both guilty and obligated. They're the same word in Hebrew. In this case, they are guilty of the nezek, not that they did the nezek, but that their shmira wasn't enough and something happened to it. They're obligated to pay for it. Imagine, it's kind of like it was yours. You would lose out on it, but it's not yours. It belongs to someone else, and now they don't have it. So therefore, you have to pay for their item that they no longer have, in the case where you're chayav. The opposite of that, of course, is patur. You're exempt, you're innocent, or not at fault. Given the circumstances, if you didn't get enough benefit from it, you weren't responsible enough for it, or the nezek was so unlikely that, how could that be expected? Then you might be patur from it. The shomer might be patur. They won't have to pay for it. It's unfortunate, but it's simply not their fault. And again, nezek is damage. We discussed different types previously, different avot nezikin, and we're going to discuss certain other ways of organizing it now. But if you're doing it, again, as a shomer, whether on accident or on purpose, like this guy, what's he doing? You could be chayav. You also might be patur. Let's see. Now, in certain situations, there's a new idea. Not just that you're chayav to pay for it or patur to pay for it, but you might have the opportunity to be nishba, or make a shavua. A shavua is a oath, or swearing that you are not at fault. A person might swear that the circumstances were so crazy, and they were a shomer chinam, and whatever it may be, whatever the combinations are, we'll see those combinations in the Mishnah, who gets to or has to swear. Right? You swear the story is true. The assumption is that there are no edim, there are no witnesses, so no one can say the story is or isn't true. There's no video. Right? You're really just taking the shomer's word for it. Well, we want to make sure they're telling the truth. So they are nishba, or they make a shavua. They swear their story is true. A shavua would be done in Beit Din, and it would be done holding or touching a Sefer Torah. It is a very serious matter, and to make a shavua sheker, to lie when making a shavua, is a very, very serious affair. It is a very serious sin. And we assume that people do not want to do that. So when they make a shavua, we really do believe they're telling the truth, because they don't want to do that there. Now, in a circumstance that they are chayav to pay, they are mishalem, which means pay. The one who is chayav has to do this. they have to pay for the item, whatever it cost, whatever they lost in it. So, here are your key terms. Some of these are probably review, and some of them are new. Chayav means guilty, you're obligated to pay. Patur means innocent or exempt from paying. Nezek is damage. Nishba or shivua. Nishba means to make the shivua, and the shivua is the swearing, the oath. And mishalem means to pay. Take these down as well. Now, sometimes, it's not just that you didn't provide enough shmirah, but you were actively negligent, meaning you were really not paying attention. If you fall asleep as a shomer, you're not paying attention. You're negligent. That's peshia. Peshia means negligent, being irresponsible watching the property. If you're watching someone's dog and you don't lock the gate, that's peshia. You really should have watched the gate. If you're renting a car, and you're also putting on your lipstick, and you're also on the phone, and you're also doing whatever else you're doing, that's negligent. You're being peshia. If you're a security guard, and you're busy taking selfies of yourself, that's peshia. You should be guarding the store, not taking selfies of yourself making funny faces. In basically all peshia cases, the shomer is going to be chayav, because it's not just a question of responsibility or benefit, it's a question of you were really negligent. You were really irresponsible. The opposite of peshia is ones. Onus is when it's completely out of your control, completely out of the shomer's control, and how could you possibly have expected that to happen? You're watching someone's cow, and a tornado comes and takes it away. How are you supposed to stop that from happening? How are you supposed to even expect that to happen? That doesn't work. Totally out of the control of the shomer. That would be a case of onus, and that would almost always be patur. We'll see some of those cases later. Case of a geneva is when the item that you're supposed to be watching, the shomer's item, is stolen. Now, different types of that. Here we're assuming that maybe it was stolen when they weren't watching, where they were sleeping or something like that. Again, depending on the type of shomer, geneva will either be chayav or patur. We'll see. Versus aveda. Aveda is the item the shomer is watching gets lost. Right? You're watching a cow. It runs away. Just the other day I saw Wagner Farm. Cow got out. Who was supposed to be watching that cow? You lose the person's keys, whatever it may be. If the shomer loses it, depending on the type of shomer, depending on that benefit and responsibility, they'll either be chayav or patur. Now, the mafkid is the person who deposits the item to be watched, meaning the original owner, the original baal. The item itself is a pekudon. It is a thing that is ufgad. So, we'll see those terms as well as we go through the Mishnah. Now, another type of nezek that could happen is the animal could die. The equivalent of an animal dying might be the item is totally destroyed. If you have a phone and it's just completely fried or broken, it's similar. But an animal that dies while you're watching it is mate. The animal being watched died. The halacha of who is chayav patur will depend on how it died, again, as well as what type of shomer they are. Let's take these down as well. Again, peshia is negligence. Ones is out of your control. Geneva is theft. Aveda is lost. Mafkid is the item being watched. And the mate is that it died. We'll see there's some more cases of nezek that could happen, but these are some of the main ones. Now we're also seeing in this Mishnah, Mehilchot Medina means the local laws. These are not the Torah laws per se, but just the local laws. What can certain people do? What can certain Shomrim do? What benefit do all Shomrim have? Mina Torah means that the laws, in that case, are from the Torah. A Shvura is a case where the item is broken or the animal is injured. Shvuya is kidnapped, different from Geneva because that's going to mean kind of forcefully or stolen for a specific reason. And a Meta is the same word as mate. Take these as well, and they'll help you when we start learning the new Mishnah. Which is, Shomer Peret Ochlin Mehilchot Medina, Aval Lo Min HaTorah. Arba Shomrim Heim, similar line, right? That's a list of things. Shomer Chinam, Shoel Nosei Sachar, V'Asocher. Shomer Chinam Nishba L'Kol, Av Shoel Mishalem Et Akol. Nosei Sachar V'Asocher Nishba'im Al HaShavura V'HaShavuya V'Halameta L'mishalem et ha'aveda ve'et ha'geneva. We'll see what this means later.